Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading, which is all about your unique and magical style, has a very fashion style persona based sort of focus for it, and it's in honor of and inspired by me just receiving a particular new tarot deck from a Kickstarter campaign that I backed for a beautiful tarot deck, which you see three of the cards for here, called the Runway Tarot. So the Runway Tarot is kind of a reworking of the Rider-Waite-Smith both system and also the kind of symbolism and visuals and so forth, but doing it within a sort of fashion sort of house, fashion stylist sort of way. Really, really beautiful, which you'll see as I use the deck here. But and it certainly is very inspiring for this. But something I just wanted to mention before getting into the choice of the piles and getting into it is that you, at this point in time, I'm not sure that you can get the deck until they've sort of brought out sort of new printing after the Kickstarter, because I think they're fulfilling the Kickstarter at the moment. But I do have in my description box below the link to their Etsy store so that you could, watch and see when this is becoming available and being able to get it, because that will happen eventually. But for anyone who is watching this who is, a tarot deck collector or a tarot reader, and I know that there are people who come to my readings and like the different sort of indie decks and so forth that I use, this deck is very special. As I say, it's very clever because it's using the colouring and symbolism and so forth from the Rider-Waite-Smith classic tarot. And if you want to see a little bit more about that and understand how clever this is, there's a brilliant tarot channel on YouTube called The Hermit's Cave. It's run by a really lovely guy. He's got such a lovely gentle energy, and he reviews and goes through many new both mass market and indie decks. Brilliant channel. And just after I backed this Kickstarter, he received from the creators, because he's very well known for doing this, he's very, very good, he received a couple of sort of booklets that showed the artwork for each of these and how it connected to the Rider-Waite-Smith card. And he actually does this amazing video going through each one by one, so you can see that the thought process behind it, and you can see how truly clever it is. So I've got a link to that video in my description box below for anybody who's interested, because I really recommend, if you're sort of considering, would this be something that I would want, apart from just the beautiful visuals, like if you, as I say, if you're into tarot symbolism and so forth, and you like the Rider-Waite-Smith system and the original Rider-Waite-Smith deck, then this may pique your interest, and it'll give you a little bit more information about that so you could make an informed choice. I highly recommend the Hermit's Cave channel as well if you're interested in tarot decks, because it is brilliant. It's one of my go-tos. So just wanted to mention that because it is so clever, and I do not use the Rider-Waite-Smith deck enough to be able to really describe this, and this isn't the point anyway of this. I couldn't do it anywhere near as well as the Hermit's Cave did, so if you're interested in that, check it out. Okay, so let's get on with it. So basically, as I say, this is really about looking at your personal style, your magical style, how that all comes together, and in honor of the Runway Tarot, and it'll have a bit of a fashion focus, and we'll finish with fashion oracle cards as well. So hopefully it'll be a bit of fun and uplifting and so forth. To help with the choice, I've deliberately chosen 3 cards from the Runway Tarot that have the primary colours. Anybody who is familiar with my channel will know that not that long ago I did a collaboration with Rena from Gold Key Guidance and Ember Moon Tarot about the primary colours. So if that interests you, you can go and check that out if you haven't already seen it. But I thought it was a good way to kind of do a differentiation here. So I've deliberately got for pile 1 yellow. So Queen of Wands here is in very much yellow and orangey colours, and may tilt towards something around the solar plexus chakra, around power, self-empowerment and that sort of thing. But we'll see. There are some other cards under there. I don't know what they are, and we'll see what the tarot says more generally. But if you're drawn to that colouring or this imagery, or even what the Queen of Wands tends to mean, which is about being self-actualised, this might be your pile. For pile number 2, we have the Queen of Cups with blue. So again, this could be around the throat chakra, communication, certainly emotional clarity, emotional maturity, if there's a sort of a very strong connection between your heart and your emotions and what you want to communicate, I would say, with your personal style. This may be your pile. For pile number 3, we have the Emperor with red. So red is the root chakra, so the foundations of life, the powers of life, and I think there's also sort of an energy here around, kind of action, all the things that the Emperor could mean, action, leadership, that kind of thing. So that may help. It doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the dominant energy we have in any of these. It's just that's what I was sort of drawn to put out as the 3 piles. So that may help you choose, or the imagery, or whatever works for you. And if you want to go to more than one, by all means do that. When you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So we have the Queen of Wands here that I've kept out of the deck because it's obviously part of the energy that's drawn you to this reading in one way or another. And certainly the Queen of Wands, as I said, is a card of self-actualization. It's a card of really knowing who you are, both your kind of outward personality and the way you present yourself, and always there's always well, there's not always, but there is often with the Queen of Wands card a black cat or something like that there, which represents the shadow. So it's a self-actualized person. So there's something in your personal style and your personal magic which is uniquely you, and which has been developed probably over time. The thing that I think is interesting in this energy is that I think that there is depths to you, which I think almost the black cat here is showing, that you maybe only really show to those closest to you, because we have forest here, the green elemental fairies, magic, a magical thing. So certainly there is something magic about it, but it feels mysterious, just like the black cat in the Queen of Wands is. And we also have rest over here, stop, rest, regain your strength. I feel like you are someone who either at this point in your life or you're heading as part of your development into is someone who is going to be very much seen. And one of the reasons that I say that, and kind of a bit of an icon for relationships or self-actualization or luck or something like that, because we have luck here, good luck coming your way. So certainly lucky energy is around you, picking up the sort of yellow, the empowerment and so forth. But we also have ivory, which is about charm, finesse and poise. And I feel when I see this card that there is a sense of having a very particular way of presenting yourself that is very, very well put together, that is very charming, that is very, very well structured, that people see as very befitting who you are, the milieu that you're in, and all of that kind of thing. So I feel like there's something very kind of charismatic in that sort of, style icon sort of energy about you, particularly with these 2 cards together, and that you can fit in. You could be really relaxed, in sort of like jeans and a t-shirt at a barbecue and still seem effortlessly stylish, and then be, at some sort of incredibly, regal sort of dinner, and also appear almost royal in the way that you come across. So there's very, very much a sense of that with you. And it's very charming with Pinky, with Let Love In, and there's a warmth to what you do. This is not a cold energy. I mean, ivory in a way is like a very, 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 very pale yellow, kind of yellow and white. So there is that capacity to put on the kind of finery when it's necessary, but there is a warmth to you and a kind of playful energy as well with Pink. And this sort of, even Luck here looks a little bit playful. She looks a little bit like, life's an adventure, but underneath, there is also something very mysterious. So I feel that, and a need to sometimes withdraw and not be seen so much by the world. So I feel like you're someone who, in this stage of your life, or you are going to develop into this, depending upon where you are in your life, you are going to have a bit of either a public profile or a high profile in some way where you are. People look to you. They look to you for style energy. I think they look to you for what it is to be self-actualized. And as a result, I think that you have to keep things a little bit secret or a little bit private sometimes, because you have a magic that you don't necessarily, I'm not even sure you could tell someone else how to do it, because it's what's uniquely you. But in any case, you need to kind of keep some of it for yourself, because you draw a lot of energy in. You're very vibrant. You draw a lot of attention. And people think you're fun. People are likely to kind of fall in love with you and all that kind of thing. So there's that kind of energy around it. So let's get some stuff from the tarot. Let's get right into the Runway Tarot, and let's ask firstly a little bit more about what your signature style is. Nine of Pentacles. It's very something about yellow with you. Six of Pentacles. Five of Pentacles. Wow. Three of Swords reversed. Two of Swords. Okay. So firstly, we have, in your signature style, we have Pentacles, which is earthy, grounded. This is probably this sort of forest energy. And we have Swords, which is very much of the mind, which feels like the ivory. I think we're seeing the two sides of the forest and the ivory here. So you have a duality, and that's also to some degree what you have with the Queen of Wands because of the cat. It is a conscious duality. You are not someone who, in either the way that you present yourself in terms of style or even in your life in general, has a sort of side of you that you're not aware of. You're very aware of who you are, very aware of who you are. And it is like there is a earthy energy to you that is seen by those that you're closest to, and I think is actually the manifestation energy. It's an energy that you are going to be very successful if you aren't already. You are. You're going to be like a self-made person. You're going to be able to manifest. There is a magic, and people may think it's luck. Like I'm getting that for some of you, what is actually much more around your own energy and empowerment and the fact that you understand yourself very well. Some people may see it as luck. So you could get a little bit of resentment or jealousy potentially. You are going to be in a position, if you aren't already, where you can help others, where you're a benefactor. Like you look like someone who could become quite wealthy and then be sort of a philanthropist. But it's kind of because you have a really deep sense of what it is to have lack. So whether you've come from rags to riches, this could be your classic rags to riches sort of thing, or it could be that you just have a very strong social conscience. There's a very earthy quality to this, but I do feel, as I say, that partly because of that and partly because you can fit in. I feel like most of you didn't come from privilege, but you may well move into the circles of privilege and you can fit in. Some people may think it's luck, some people may not know. In whatever way this works, in whatever way it is in your life, but there's this very earthy quality. I feel like there's a sort of sense of sort of earthy colours and sort of practical, and there is more of that than there is of the ivory. So if you're looking at the kind of two sides of your personal style and your personal magic, you are more comfortable in the earthy, either earthy, sort of as I say, the jeans and t-shirt at a barbecue, or maybe corporate clothing and corporate sort of, like the business suits and all that sort of thing. But it's partly, and there's a generosity around what you do in this space. But I feel like many of you are sometimes in a milieu which requires more this sort of very stylish, very restrained, very cool sort of energy. And I think you're comfortable and able to do it, but it is tiring to you because it's not as natural. So it's like you have to go into those sort of realms sometimes. And it's a little bit intellectually painful. It's sort of the choice you make because you have to make the choice, not because you want to. Now, the good news is you are able to do it very naturally. It is natural. You don't have to consciously really think about it. Once you've actually donned the clothes or moved into that circle or done whatever, it comes naturally. And any of the sort of, not distaste for it, but the sense of not feeling as home as you are in this other realm comes into being, but the pain of it sort of disappears because you can do it. You are able to do it, but you're very conscious of switching between the two styles. What isn't coming across here, there's not an emotional connection really to how you present yourself by the looks of things. It's more an energy. This is why I feel like some of you, as I say, will be going into kind of more public sort of, in whatever that means, sort of situations, and it's a bit tiring. This is why it's a bit tiring. You can do it, but it takes more out of you. You actually look like, honestly, an introvert who is called upon to do extroverted stuff. And when I talk about introvert and extrovert, I'm not talking about shy or the life of the party. I'm talking about introverts gather their energy within themselves. And I think that's how you naturally do it. And this is like within your own body and within your own self. Extroverts pick up energy from others, which is more the being out in the world and some of the more sort of kind of seen in the world type of energy, say of the Queen of Wands here. So I feel like you're kind of more like the introvert who can do the extroverted thing when necessary. But your personal style, there's two versions of it, and you know how you can finesse the two really, really well. So let's see what's the magic of that. What is your particular magic around this style? Because there is magic for you, definitely. Eight of Cups. Oh, the blank card. So some decks have a blank card, and that's interesting. So I'll get to what that means. Seven of Cups. Ace of Pentacles. Okay, you definitely can manifest stuff. I do think that many of you, whether it's now in your life or whether it's as you develop your style and you know, yourself in the world, depending on where you're up to, you are going to appear to be very lucky. And there is a certain amount of luck around you, but it's also, there's something quite calculated in a good way. This is not a negative level of calculation. You just know how to do this stuff. And therefore you can bring things into being. That's part of but it's in this realm when you're feeling really at home with the material side of things that you really manifest. The interesting thing, so there's like almost, these are two things and these are two things. One thing around magic for you is that you know when to walk away from something emotional. In fact, you can detach from emotion in the material world when you need to. This is why you can do this. So I think that some people, if they are very earthy and very private, which I think you actually are, when they're suddenly thrust into being seen and having to fill a role and having to look a particular way and all that kind of thing, it can be really disturbing. They find it really hard and they find it emotionally hard. You find it a little bit intellectually tiring, but you kind of get into the rhythm and you can do it. And as long as you get time out, you know, you're fine. But one of the reasons is you can detach. Your magic is detaching the emotion from the outcome. So you manifest by doing. You manifest by taking on the role, and that brings the stuff to you. It's not a kind of emotional thing. It's natural to you to clear things emotionally. They don't stick with you, and that's part of it. The other thing is that it almost allows then, what I feel this is saying, is the magic of your emotions to go almost into your unconscious. So your conscious mind lets go of the emotional attachments you might have to one or other style or what you do, so that you can manifest and be whatever you need to be in the world. That then means with the blank card, because the blank card is sort of the unmanifest, that on your kind of subconscious, unconscious level, you are drawing in your dreams with the Seven of Cups. It looks after itself so that you're not bothered by it, because it's like you kind of know that's all happening on a subconscious level. What you want emotionally, it's like a underlying program that operates in a computer thing, and it's running all the time, so that actually is a foundation. So the emotional dream and bringing things out of the unmanifest is running all the time, but you don't have to focus on it. And in fact, by the time it comes to the material world, you're just taking on the role. You're not thinking about the emotion. You kind of know it's operating. Very powerful, I think, in terms of manifestation. So let's see, what do people see in you, see in or of you? You know, what are other people reacting to in terms of your personal style? Oh, that's interesting. So this deck has a card for Pamela Coleman Smith, who is the person who was the artist for Rider-Waite-Smith. It also has one for Arthur Waite as well, so for one of the sort of like symbologists and sort of like hermeticists, I guess, or whatever he was. I'm not sure of his background. So I think when that comes up, that is a sign of sort of psychic energy, though it's interesting that it's reversed. Knight of Cups, Page of Cups, Ten of Cups. Wow. Nine of Swords reversed. Okay, so now this is what's interesting, because, so say people see you as lucky. They also let the love in. There's something very appealing about what you do. I'm going to go to these three cards first. You do give off a very romantic sort of aura. I think you draw a lot of people in. So I think people might fall in love with you quite a lot, which, you know, can be complicated since we don't want everybody falling in love with us. We just want the person we fall in love with to fall in love with us. But I think you do. You draw in a lot of emotional energy, and some of it is very romantic and some of it's a bit immature. But it's people who are looking for what it would be to be happy. One of the things I do think can happen with someone whose style and whose energy is a bit like a Queen of Wands is that energy is about a self-actualized person who knows who they are, and you really know who you are. And I have seen it happen, that sometimes people like that, people look at it and go, oh, that's what it is to be self-actualized. And they think that if they mimic you, they're going to reach that level. But the reality is it doesn't work, because they have to find themselves just like you found yourself. So I think that people respond to you very emotionally. It's interesting because you're operating, as I say, the emotional stuff is very under the surface. So you are operating on a different level with that. And it's almost as though you may attract this sort of stuff and you think, where's that all coming from? If it's not what you're looking for, this might be why you need to rest and withdraw sometimes. So you have a very romantic energy to you. People really do see that. They also see you as someone who has got it all worked out, isn't worrying anymore. Like, you are aspirational, particularly emotionally, but aspirational. What is interesting is that I think you are very psychic if either of these cards come up, but it's reversed. I don't think people know how magical this is. I don't think people know what's going on at your subconscious level. You're very much able to wear the mask, and not in a duplicitous way, but in a very real way, so that people can't, it's seamless. They don't understand what's going on underneath this. They just have the experience of it, this sort of lovely, positive sort of energy and this sort of like effortless beauty and style and so forth. And you're aspirational. You provide a template for people to make them think, if I'm like that person, then I'm not going to have to worry so much because I'm going to be confident. So that's interesting. And I think sometimes the people who do this the most, they don't necessarily feel that way. I mean, there's a very Princess Diana feeling around this to me. And it's like it can be a struggle to be in that kind of ivory world sometimes. So, but she was very aspirational, and there was a lot of romanticism directed towards her. So it's that kind of feeling. So we're just going to ask for 3 cards just to finish off from the tarot here about what Spirit says that in fact would be helpful for you to show less of, like to get the balance even working better for you. The Moon reversed, the Star reversed, 8 of Swords reversed. Okay, I think this is just saying, I think this is about, you're going to have to get a little bit discriminating about who you let into your world. And I don't mean that in a horrible way, not discriminating in any kind of way about, a class or race or anything. I'm not talking about that. But what I do think is that you draw a lot of people to you, and not all of them understand what's going on here. I find it very interesting that we have the Moon reversed here with the Knight of Cups. It's almost as though you could do... Well, actually, for this one, I'm thinking it's saying a bit of the opposite. I do think there's an issue about being careful about not drawing in so many people that they see you as the being like you. Like, you have to be careful about mini-me's, I think. It's not coming from a jealous area. It's coming from a aspirational area. But I think there is something about doing a little bit less of liberating other people or showing what it is to be there so that they can find their own way. But there is a little bit here, I actually think, with the Moon reverse, doing less of the Moon reverse. The Moon reverse feels to me about like being very pragmatic and non-spiritual and non-romantic and non-emotional. So it's almost as though it's saying that for the right people, I think, and for the right audience, showing a little bit more about the kind of the emotional engine room under all of this could be helpful, because it's almost like for some people that you might most want in your life, you may be so mysterious or so aspirational that they don't come near you. So I think that there is something there, but I think for others, it's like more for the general audience you have. If you keep doing this sort of thing of fixing people's sort of sense of self by showing them the way to do it, you're actually not going to be helping them. Because they're going to try and be you rather than be themselves. So I think that's what sort of Spirit is saying here. Okay, so let's see some spiritual stylists for you. So I want to get like a couple of goddess, divine feminine energies, and I also want to get a couple of angel energies around stylists, what they would be saying to really zhuzh up your style even more, and your magic even more. So we have Vesta, which is about altars, sacred space, home. Yeah, there's something very public about you. As I say, whether it's now or whether that's going to be as a result of your career, I don't know. But there's something about really making sure that you concentrate on where you feel most at home and where you feel something is sacred to you. I just feel that most of you, there's another side of you that has to be shown sometimes, and it's because of your career or people that you associate with or something like that. And I just feel that this is saying that you need to really look at how you feel most comfortable and who you feel most comfortable with. Okay, and we'll get one other. Lady Sarah, Divine Union, New Earth, Holy Grail, one. Okay, all right. This is why this is happening. This is why this is happening. There is someone who is meant to be your divine union, your divine partner. You may have found that person, and if so, so many other people want your attention and sort of like are sort of like following you that it could be getting in the way, or you may not bring in the person if you shut down the emotional things. If it's all very stylized and very structured and very much of the moment, you may be held a bit apart here. This is why these two are saying that there is something about who you really are in your core, because that's what's given you this amazing style and power, being true to who you are. But it's because you're sort of in different environments and showing different things and not showing the emotional undercurrent with it. They want you to be able to do that for the right audience. Okay, let's see what we have around angel energy as stylists for you. Baba Yaga, the wise and wild woman, duality, duality, because she's saying there is a duality to you, or you're able to wear different sort of like styles and different ways of presenting yourself, and all of that is fine. But getting a little bit more in touch again with your you're very spiritual and very psychic, but it's not what's being shown in your style. I think it's got to do with a particular audience though. If you're looking to bring in love, or if you're in love with someone and you're trying to kind of manifest it or something like that, there's something like that going on here, where being closer to your magic and to who you truly are is the thing that brings in that person. This is brilliant for career, for sort of being a leader, all of that sort of thing, but it may be the very thing that is keeping away the true sort of soul connection. So I think your stylist here, your spiritual stylist, want you to think about that. And Archangel Gabriel, self-expression. Yeah, so remember, this is about your self-expression. The North Star again, the Holy Grail, I see those two things as the same thing. There is something, pile one, whether it's a love or whether it's something else that you're aspiring to, and your brilliance at all of this is part of, you're using it to get there. And as I say, it seems effortless, it seems lucky, but it's not. But I do think that your stylist is saying there is a tweak when there is a particular audience, and whether it's a lover or whether it's a particular audience, where you have to get more back to who you truly are in your self-expression, because it's the thing that's ultimately going to bring in the thing that you really want. Yeah, and otherwise you could sort of stand in your own way in a way by bringing at all this, but not drawing in the right audience at the right time. Okay, so let's get your star quality. Let's get some, astrological or numerological energy around your style and your magic. Pile one. Sixth house. This service to others, this is in work. I think it is saying a lot of this is around your work or your career. But again, it might be that's the point. You might have very particular roles in your work and your career, but to bring in the love and all that sort of thing, you need to think about who you are at home. And it is service to others. I think there's something in what you do is aspirational and helps others. The issue is, I think here, whether some people get dependent on it. So sometimes true service is withdrawing a bit so that people find their own strength. Then we have Uranus. Okay, there's some big changes coming up. Big inspiration, big changes. And this is probably coming from that kind of unmanifest energy of the blank card for your emotions. Dreams could come through. Your Holy Grail could come through. You're on the precipice of this. The important thing is to understand when to be as authentic as possible. And lastly, Aquarius. Yeah, and to be a little bit detached when you need to be. In fact, I do think this is in whatever this ivory energy is. This is why we had like air sign cards around that thing. There's being able to be detached and looking at the bigger picture for when you're in that particular environment. But when you're in the environment that's more about who you truly are at your core and who you are at home, that's when you're going to draw in the change energy and so forth to bring in, I think, either a great love or certainly what you're truly passionate about for your career. Okay, so to finish up, we just want to get you a couple of cards from the Fashion Oracles. So I'm not a big person in the fashion industry, so I may not know all that much about these people. You may know more than me, but what I'm just looking for is their advice to you, their fashion advice for your unique magical style. File 1. So we have, Prada, Miuccia Prada, and Coco Chanel. So I do know Prada, I do know Chanel. I mean, as I say, I'm not a fashion industry aficionado, but anyway, this is very interesting what Miuccia Prada says. Fashion is a sixth sense. Sixth house, service to others, the unmanifest coming through. You really do have a natural genius for your personal style. This is why people are really drawn to it. And and a lot of it comes from very psychic, magical elements within. That's why you can manifest using this. But it appears to be very pragmatic and very much of the situation that you're in. So it could be misunderstood. So I think that's worth being aware of. She says you can't argue with black. Well, that's probably true in terms of fashion. Black always looks sort of like minimalist and clear. And she says, be a diamond, strong and full of sparkle. Well, you are, I think. And this is the ivory side of it. There is something in your career or, presence in the world which is going to be at that very refined level. With Coco Chanel, we have tweed and twin sets support women's rights. So there's something about what you're doing that will support others. I think it's just how that is done. She says, elegance and perfume are life's only essentials. Elegance and perfume. That's very in this ivory side of things, I think. And then she says, fashion isn't what you wear, it's who you should be. So yes, this is the aspirational thing, but that might be the question for you. What is your fashion? What is your style for the different audiences, for the different situations? Because you are able to do it all. You are. But to get the maximum benefit for this and the maximum benefit of your magic, you need to think about the audience and make sure that you don't inadvertently, sort of almost scare them off because they feel you're too aspirational or something like that. So I hope that was a bit of fun, pile 1. It's a really fun, great energy. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it resonates for you. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Queen of Cups, and so I've kept that out of the deck to make it a clear part of this reading. And we have some other cards here to get a bit of an idea about the nature of your personal, unique, magical style and how that's manifesting and so forth. So firstly, as I said in the introduction, the Queen of Cups, the blue energy tells me there's a lot about communicating clearly and so forth because of the throat chakra. I think that there's something about your personal style and your fashion sense and the way you present yourself in a broad sense that what you would articulate with it, what you could describe, maybe write about, speak about, you're a whole package. It's not just what you might sort of like wear and your makeup and whatever that might be. There's something about how you communicate that is part of this. And with the Queen of Cups, it's very, very emotionally resonant. It's very, very emotionally mature and honest, and probably very psychic and spiritual as well. But the interesting thing here is I feel like there's a gentleness, a kind of a vulnerability, and a sense of being a little bit ahead of your time, because with the lemon here we have clean, fresh and new. I think that you are sort of, in terms of your personal style, it's very authentic and very emotional, but it's not necessarily of the current fashion. I feel like you're a bit ahead of the pack. You're actually the sort of person, consciously or unconsciously, who starts to set trends because people see it and feel very emotionally connected to it. But the thing is that I think for you don't even realize that's happening because there's a time lag, I think. Because when I look at this, it's like you are this new person, emotionally resonant, really beautiful energy that people respond to, but you feel like it's a hard slog. And you, with cyan here, which again is a kind of a bluey green sort of color, build your confidence, like understanding this, seeing this, taking the time out with tea time here, take a break, sip a cuppa, have a snack, make time for yourself. If you slow down a bit, because I think you're just emotionally and sort of like inspirationally ahead of the pack, you're not seeing, you feel like you're always out of step with other people. You feel like what you have is true, that people don't get it. But in actual fact, it's just they follow along a bit behind, and by the time they're at your sort of what you've been thinking about, talking about, expressing, showing yourself as being all that, you're kind of at the next thing. And so you're not necessarily seeing it, and you're feeling like you don't fit in, you're feeling like you're out of step. But what you actually are is ahead of the pack. And if you realize that, you can have the perseverance. It says continue without getting discouraged by opposition and or previous failure. Actually, if you look back, it's not failure. You're going to look back and you're going to see, hey, I was doing this and now everybody's doing it, but I'm now on to this next thing. And when you realize that, then you can use the Sienna thing here, which talks about plans, preparation and training. It's like starting to see that, understand the skill that you have and what you could do with that. And how you then, going back to the communication style of the Queen of Cups with the blue energy there, once you have that confidence and you've got the planning, you maybe can present it as being, you know, fashion forward, let's say that. It doesn't have to be literally in how you dress yourself, though this is part of the style, but in your personal brand, it's almost about being fashion forward or idea forward or innovator rather than out of step. I just feel that for many of you, you felt out of step, but if you actually look back, you see that people caught up. And like whether this is literally in the way you present yourself, that's mainly what we're talking about in this reading, but it could also be in ideas because of the communication thing here. You may just be someone with either psychic ability, like kind of, you know, prophet-like precognition, or it just may be that you think very fast, you're ahead of things, and therefore you see things before other people, but other people aren't ready to hear it or see it. If you start to understand that, then you can start to plan and look at the timing and how you express it to be more understood so that people start to follow you, because you really do have a forward approach. You're in the future a bit. It's like you're literally, you know, a few days, a few weeks, a few months, whatever, ahead of other people. And it's made you feel, even though you're true to yourself, it's made you feel a little bit kind of out of sorts and lacking in confidence. But in actual fact, once you turn this around, it's the very thing that should make you extremely confident. So let's get a little bit more from the tarot about your signature style, how that actually plays out. Three of Wands. Wheel of Fortune reversed. This is a timing thing. Page of Cups. Knight of Cups. The Star reversed. Yeah, okay. This is kind of saying the same thing. You're very creative in whatever form that operates for you. And you could have people with you. You're not really as out of step. You feel like you're out of step. You feel like your timing's all wrong. But it's like if you start to understand that as a blessing as opposed to a challenge, then you can turn that around. It's like really strong emotional sort of like connections with people and connections across the board with the Page of Cups. You're very much, in terms of your signature style, your heart is on your sleeve, big time. It's probably very much in sort of like the style of clothing and so forth that has an emotional thing of what emotionally works for you. But this is the thing, because you're ahead of the pack, what's emotionally working for you is sort of like other people aren't quite caught up with it yet. You're sort of off on your adventure with the Three of Wands ahead of other people, but it's very true and emotionally true to you. And it's an offering. It's like an offering. This is why it feels disappointing, because then you feel like you're not seen. You feel like, you know, you kind of lose hope. You know, should you persevere and so forth. But as I say, it's just understanding this. The Wheel of Fortune is the key thing here. This is about timing. You're just ahead of the pack. So there's a way of presenting yourself and what you're doing in those terms that kind of makes this offering, this emotional offering, less sort of vulnerable to feeling the disappointment and so forth. And you can turn this around once you understand this is your ace up your sleeve, but at the moment you're experiencing it as the thing that makes you doubt yourself. As I say, it doesn't literally have to be in fashion. This could be in you know, sort of ideas and all sorts of things. But I think if you look back, I feel like it's almost rewinding the wheel when it's upside down. If you look back, you're going to see that was true, but you haven't really looked at it that way before. So let's ask what your magic is in relation to all of this. The Lovers, the Eight of Pentacles, Death reversed, Eight of Swords reversed. Okay, a couple of things. Actually, there's probably three things here. Firstly, you actually have a magic and a genius for a relationship. Once you understand this, it's going to be so helpful for people. It's going to draw people to you and so forth, of the right people, and who understand what you have to offer, and this deep emotional authenticity that you have to offer, this really lovely heart. You have a really lovely heart. So you really do have a magic when it comes to relationships. You've just got to understand this particular part of your personal style, your communication that is a bit ahead of the pack. You can actually learn. It's a skill you can learn. This is why the planning is here. It's understanding. It's looking back into the past to see what happened, and then thinking about what are the skills to communicate your heart in a way that people can understand it when you're just that little bit ahead of the pack. And what that does is it liberates you from a feeling that you're constantly making the wrong choice. Because you doubt your own choices. You doubt yourself. You can liberate yourself. The magic is to liberate yourself by understanding what you thought was being out of step is actually genius. And once you understand the genius, then you can actually take this forward, and you can train yourself and actually give a plan and a way for other people to understand you and to be with you. So it really is kind of what a prophet needs to be able to do to get people to be able to see what they can see. There's something in that. But the good thing for you is that many prophets, it's around political stuff and stuff like that. It's very hard for people to see that. But I think for you, there's something very emotionally pure about this, and very much about relationship and connection. And once you kind of get it, you see what I'm talking about here, you're going to be able to plan and prepare and bring people along with you, because it is part of your magic. So what at the moment do people see in and of you? Ace of Cups reversed, Seven of Wands, Ten of Pentacles, Page of Pentacles, Queen of Swords. Okay, now the good news is, while you are feeling like people don't get you and you're out of step and you're really hard on yourself about this, and people think you're really hard on yourself, they actually do see it. They see you as very brave. Really brave, and someone who could really manifest great things, and someone they rely on. Like, I think there's people around you who've actually realised this about you, even if you haven't realised it yourself. They've realised that if they really want to know where the growing concern is, watch what you're doing, because that's going to be the future. So there's an entrepreneurial kind of sense about you that people have seen, and they see you as very brave. They also see you as not understanding what you have to offer yet. So I think there would be people around you who, if you sat down and talked to them about this, they say, like, sometimes, I feel like I'm a bit out of step because I'm a bit ahead. Does that make sense to you? They'll go, yeah, it makes perfect sense. And then if they say, well, if I planned around that, if I started to articulate that in some sort of more practical way, would that be helpful? And they go, yeah, do that. People would see you as someone, like, certainly around business and around, the financial markets and all the sort of material things, people see you as someone who really does know what's coming and has the courage, but they see you as being really hard on yourself, and they can see this beautiful heart, but they feel like you kind of like hide it under a kind of a detached communication. And this is just because I think at some point, maybe in your family or something, your capacity to see ahead, you suffered for that, and I think so you're not seeing it in that light. But other people, there are other people who see this. So let's ask Spirit what you could show less of. What could you show less of to really bring out the best of this for you? Because we all have things in our personal style and our persona and so forth that aren't working for us as much as other things. Three of Swords reversed. Five of Pentacles. Ace of Swords. Okay. Don't suppress the new, because you're meant to do the new. Don't think that the new is just going to make you lonely, because most people want to connect with you. You're not going to be rejected, not by the people who get this and understand it. And don't feel like you're always trying to sort of avoid or deal with pain. Like start to see the new thing that you do as your ace up your sleeve, like your ace up your sleeve. It literally is. Then you move out of a mentality that I'm going to be alone and detached and not connect. Then you understand that you have a genius for relationship, but you have to understand that you are of the new. And that just brings with it a different way of communicating, a different way of planning, a different way of relating. But you can do it. You can definitely do it, pole 2. So let's get you a spiritual stylist team. So we'll start with a couple of divine feminine energies, and then we'll also have a couple of angel angel energies as well for you. So angel or major deity energies for you. So first of all, a couple of divine feminine energies in your stylist team, your spiritual stylist team, to say, you know, what you can do to really bring about the best for your personal style and your personal magic. So we have Frigg, fertility, family, partnership. Yet you are meant to, if you aren't already, you're meant to be in a really good family. If you've actually found love and a family and everything, and that's the one place where you really feel seen and understood, then that's where you start. And you talk to them about how you plan and do this more generally. And they're going to reflect back on you how brilliant you are at this. If you're not meant to be, this will bring this for you. If you felt alone, if you felt like your heart was always sort of out of sync, once you realize this, you're going to draw that in. So she is saying, you know, focusing on what do you want, you know, in terms of relationships and family and partnerships, all of those sort of things. You will find the right people once you realize what you can bring to the table. And Aphrodite, beauty, romance, self-love. Yeah, you're a beautiful person, Patu. You really are. Like at the Queen of Cups, to be drawn to the Queen of Cups energy, it's a lovely, lovely energy. And there's a great deal of beauty in what you do, and it's having the self-esteem to understand that. And I do think it's kind of looking back and understanding how ahead of the pack you were and how that was kind of dazzling and so forth. So you're meant to bring in the right people and to have self-love and to be loved and to be seen as really, you know, iconic in a way rather than out of step. So let's also get you angel or sort of like God type energies as well for your style team. Sekhmet, fierceness, distinction, rebuilding, power, energy, self-esteem. Like I feel like this is like a shot in the arm of sort of almost the Queen of Wands to go along with the Queen of Cups. It's a sort of sense of like fierce energy. This is the Three of Wands also. The colouring is very similar. You are on a journey. You are fierce. You are different. You are unique. Understanding that, you know, and being proud of that. That's the thing. You've kind of seen it as being out of step, as I say, but wow, you know, you're just ahead of your time. And Baba Yaga, that's interesting. That came up for one of the others. The wise and wild woman, duality, the witch. This is like, you do have a witchy energy. I mean, if you've come again to the Queen of Cups, that's a Scorpio card. So there's that kind of energy to you. And that's again, your kind of, your prophetic energy. I'm feeling too with the moon there, the sort of feeling of like watch the cycles of the moon. I think that will give you sort of some understanding of when your prophecy comes in, your sort of ahead of the time comes in, and when it might be good to plan and communicate it. There's something in that for you as well too. But you're a very, very sort of like psychic, prophetic sort of person. This is what's going on. If you understand that, then you can use it. Let's get you some guidance of the stars for your star quality and your magical style. Sagittarius, freedom, creativity. And Sagittarius is all about the sort of expansion and learning and the new and all that kind of thing. So I think this is like, feel free. Don't see this as, this is your ace up your sleeve. Just understanding that it will be really powerful for you. Could also mean, with Sagittarius can mean travel and things like that. It could be that you know, part of what you do and what you see might be more understood in different parts of the world. You know, again, it doesn't have to be literally travel. It could be sort of online, that sort of thing. Grand Trine. Yeah, everything's going to come into balance for you once you realize this. You'll see that actually what you felt was difficult or worrying was actually, you know, once you get into the flow of it, it makes things easier. I will have a look at the planets, but let's see what else we get. You're hot. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're definitely ahead of your time, and you're definitely, like, there's a fate energy around this. You just have to start to understand it. You have to see, so why the Wheel of Fortune is so important. You have to see what are the patterns in your life, because it's going to really, really bring that out. What I'm going to do, because it'll take too long to do this, like to deal all this out, is I'm just going to use an Astro dice, and I'm just going to roll for the trine and for the odds. So firstly, 3 planets that are influencing ease for you. So one is Mars. So that's a kind of Sekhmet energy. Action, taking action, believing in yourself. One is Venus, Aphrodite, loving what you do, understanding it's beautiful. And Venus and Mars also suggest great relationship. If any of you are wanting this to be around a great relationship, it's a very good sign. And Uranus, so yeah, the change. Change is brought through by understanding, in a sense, it's also the divine masculine and divine feminine. It's the confidence and the receptivity, bringing that all into change, and your change agent energy. That's your magic. Then your destiny, looking at two planets pointing towards another. So the two that are connected are Neptune, so your psychic ability, your witchy ability. The moon, yeah, God, yeah, the moon and Neptune, very, very psychic. You're very, very psychic. Heading towards that, all that psychic energy is heading towards Mercury, how you communicate, which is the blue. There's something that you're meant to communicate, and your personal style and your personal magic will have to do with this, but you are destined to communicate something new, something very psychic, something that's about change, but it's also about balance, self-love, receptivity, and fierceness and action. Wow, you're very interesting people, pile 2. So let's finish with a little bit of fun with the fashion oracles. So this deck just has different people from the fashion world. I'm not really that knowledgeable about the fashion world, so I'm not going to really pay a lot of attention to who we get, but it's more what they say. And these decks can just be fun and funny, or they can be profound. So take from it what you will. So for you, we have Madeleine Vionnet. Yes, and I have no idea who she is. Any of you who are into fashion may well know. And Estee Lauder. Okay, I know Estee Lauder. Makeup and so forth. So Madeleine says to you, free your figure and be feminine. So, yeah, be free. Be free and be who you want to be, you know, and like feminine or masculine, whatever you want to present, whatever your energy is, whatever you identify. But it's about freedom. She says, decoration comes after construction, but architecture is essential. This is the planning. Like you can, once you have seen what the future is and you've planned and you've got the communication out, then you can decorate it and build it as you want. But until you've kind of understood that and seen the architecture under your style, you're not going to be able to sort of make it what you want. This is why it's important for you to understand the dynamic that's happening. And she says, be biased to your curve. So you be biased to what you are doing. Don't second guess it. Estee Lauder says you can rule the world with a lipstick, and you can rule the world with being ahead of the world. She said a lady should be crease-free in clothes and in fashion. So I think that's, to me, that just feels like being more confident. I feel like the creases are the things that sort of close you down. Like, don't do that. And she says, earn your daydreams. Yeah, earn it by bringing it into being, because you're meant to manifest it in some way through your communication and through, as I say, your forward thinking. So I hope that was a bit of fun, pile 2. I hope it resonated. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Emperor. So that sort of red energy, root chakra, action, power, all the things that the Emperor tends to signify. And so I've kept this card out from the rest of the tarot because it's important to this reading and important to the energy. Very interesting, though, with you, because that is part of you, definitely, and it's part of your true purpose. And part of your true purpose is around diversity, inclusion, social cohesion, acceptance, joy, a lot of really, really wonderful things. And I think that in your work or your career or in a leadership role in some way, you're going to do a lot with that. And about keeping peace. But there is sort of, you have to keep the thing that's driving you and that comes across, your primary thing that comes across to people, even though you've got the Emperor here, is a sense of joy and a sense almost of innocence and sort of inclusion. Like it's like social justice, but without the edge of fighting, if that makes sense. It's like that you're ebullient. You really, really believe in this. You want to sort of see, you know, generation after generation having this sort of happiness and joy. You want everybody to be included. There's something very diverse. I think there could be something very colourful about the way that you dress and the way you present yourself. Very, you could be non-binary. It could be any of those things. You don't have to be any of them specifically, but there's just this energy of joy and openness and caring, and that's a big part of your personal style and your personal magic, and it is lovely. And you do naturally bring peace to things, and you become therefore an incredibly powerful sort of leader or sort of aspirational sort of energy. But I think that you're in an environment, or you're going to be in an environment, where you have to moderate that a bit, because this has temptation luring away from your true purpose. I think your true purpose is to manifest this, but in a very material way. And I think that the energy for you is, if you are too much in the play happy space, will that take you away from what you can lead others? Like, could you spend too much time being creative and inclusive and so forth, so therefore never take that step up into management or whatever it might be, leadership, that would be necessary to truly bring about your true purpose? Or alternatively, could you find that the desire to manifest this in the world takes you away from some of this core happiness, and maybe in an environment that's not as inclusive and open? So I think that's your challenge. I think that you are meant to lead, and you're meant to be aspirational in this space, and you have a really innate joy and colourfulness, and there's something very, very unique and wonderful about you that kind of can sort of bring opposites and other people together and make it work. But there's something about this, as I say, either you could do it too much that then people don't take you seriously as the leader you're meant to be in the environment that you're in, or that you get so focused on being the leader that you lose some of this. So this is your challenge, I think, Pile 3. You're very powerful, and you're very true and open-hearted, and you come from an amazingly positive place. But I think that many of you are in an environment that isn't, or you are going to deliberately put yourself into an environment that isn't, because you're trying to bring that. And then there's going to just be a little bit of attention to how you balance that. So let's get a little bit more information from the tarot. Let's firstly say, what is your signature style, given this kind of almost dichotomy? Like, the Emperor energy feels very different to all of that. It feels more like this, but then again, this is exactly the sort of leader we need. So it's interesting. So let's have a look at a little bit more about your signature style with the tarot. The Sun. Oh, yeah, you are so bright. You shine so bright. Judgment. 9 of Pentacles reversed. The Star reversed. The Devil reversed. Oh, look. You are very interesting people. So I'm going to say this right. I think that the people who've come to this, you are people who are of the light, like big time, like really, like of the sun, of the light, of what would actually heal the world in whatever level this is that you do. Karmically, very, very bright, like calling people. You're calling people to a group here, to a material manifest group. You're calling them out of a sense of despair. You're calling them out of a sense of bondage. This is the thing. You've got a cause, and that's why the Emperor has come up. But it's your very beauty of soul going into the less beautiful and less sort of inspired places now. This is the balance for you, and you were calling people. You were calling your tribe to you. Beautiful. So your signature style, it's very, very bright. You shine so bright, but it's like at the same time, there's almost a demand in what you do, and a demand for people to do this. So it isn't, as I say, you're not edgy. You like social justice, but without the edge, but you're in an edgy environment. So maybe that's why we've got the Judgment here. Like you do actually sometimes call people to account. You do it in a very transparent, bright way, but you're kind of calling people to this, and you want peace. You're a peacemaker, but you're in environments, like your style is to take this into environments, corporate environments, political environments, whatever it might be, to liberate. Wow, what an interesting energy. Okay, let's ask what your magic is in with this. Knight of Swords reversed. Queen of Cups. Knight of Cups. 2 of Pentacles. Okay, you can bring peace, you can bring duality, you can bring diversity. You kind of get it. You get this, and you get why it works. You get why it's important. You take all the political rhetoric out of it and all that sort of stuff, which I think is really corrosive to the true core of this. You are at the true core of it, and you get it. And you get how to make material choices. And you don't rush into things. Like, you have this incredibly ebullient, charismatic, vital energy, but you don't rush into it. You want to make sure everybody's with you. I feel like the Queen of Cups and the Knight of Cups here with the Nine of Pentacles. It's like there is such heart to what you do. You want everybody to feel part of this. Like, it's like you're a reluctant leader. You are a leader and you are going to lead. I'm sorry, pile 3, but you are. In one form or another, you are. And it will have some temptations and it will bring a challenge to you. You want a truly collaborative environment, but you are going to lead. But you have the sense, and this is part of your magic, to slow things down when necessary to allow other people to emotionally connect to this. Wow. Okay. So let's see, how do people see you? See, what do they see in and of you at the moment, given that? Knight of Wands, there's the charisma. 3 of Cups reversed. 5 of Pentacles reversed. 3 of Wands reversed. The Fool reversed. Okay, yeah, they see you as the impetus to change. They also see you as the peacemaker. There's something about this that is the peacemaker. You look like you go into environments where people have felt dispossessed and you are somebody who can actually connect them. With the 5 of Pentacles and the 9 of Pentacles reversed, there's the same sort of energy. It's like bringing people together. But it's where there has been differences of opinion, differences of heart. You go straight into the belly of the beast in one form or another, and you know what you're doing. You've done this before. So to the degree that you come across as almost innocent, like so almost sort of like bright and happy and almost childlike, you're not. You know what you're doing. And people do realize that. That's why they're likely to follow you. And they go with this charisma. They see you as an agent of change, but it's also an agent of inclusion. So you have everything you need really to do this. This is good, because when I looked at this at first, I thought this is a bit uncomfortable. And you do have to be aware that you could become very lionized for this. Like there's something feels very Leonian about it. And when that happens, there's of course the risk that you can detach from your original heart and become, tempted by the powers. But I don't think you will. You're very much in your heart. So let's see what you could do less of, what you could show less of in your personal style that will help you with this. And help you, I think, with the environments that you go into. Because they're almost like you deliberately go into the opposite environment to bring the light. So what could you do less of that would be helpful? Ace of Wands reversed, the World, 9 of Cups. I think this is saying that you need to do a little bit less of being the leader, though you are going to be a leader. It's almost like you plant the seed, but then you let it grow, and a little bit less of taking things to conclusions. Because it's like at the moment you're representing what the ideal is. And there's this bit of a similar energy in one of the other readings where it's always a balance, I think, when you're trying to liberate people or help them self-actualize, and that was probably more what the other reading was. But where people can start to identify it with what you do and your actions, and therefore they don't take their responsibility and accountability. And for what you're looking for is everybody to be equals. If you become too much of the person who says what the beginning should be and what the end should be and what the ideal should be, then that takes away that kind of sovereignty from other people. You're not doing it deliberately, but it could happen. And if you go into sort of positions of power in one form or another, it's going to happen almost positionally. So you just need to be aware of it. You need to always be thinking about the first principles of what you do and this sort of diverse collaborative thing that you're trying to bring in. That's the one thing to be aware of. That's where the temptation could happen, because you could think, I can just see what it would be to make these people happy. I'll tell them, and then they'll be happy. And that might be true to some degree, but you won't have been doing what your mission is. So it's something in the way you present yourself, because this is about your style, which is incredibly colourful and incredibly vibrant and incredibly aspirational and all of those things. And it's inclusive, but it's also charismatic. It's also driven. It also has a purpose, and it's how you kind of get people to come along on the journey, not to follow, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's get you some spiritual stylists. So we're going to get some divine feminine energy and some angel or God energy as well for you on your spiritual style team for this. So firstly, we have Sulis Minerva, life, water, nourishment. This is the emotional side of things. You are very emotional. This is the thing. I think if you listen to her guidance, which is about going with the flow, about the emotional, keeping in the heart of it, this is how you can avoid the temptation of the taking the leadership role. So it's what is nourishing and what is life. Because it's interesting too, with the temptation card, it was sort of a bit like sirens, you know, and like that brings the sea and water and everything. There's an emotional temptation to lead. But if you go to the core of what you're trying to nourish, you'll do something differently. Your style will come across as nourishing and affirming rather than prescribing. We also have Frig. Fertility, partnership and family. That came up for one of the others, so some of you may have come to more than one reading. So this may, for some of you, be particularly manifest in your family in some way. You know, your partnerships. Well, certainly there is a lot about collaboration and other people. I think this is saying this is not something to do on your own. Your style is particularly well suited to bringing this in. You are naturally very ebullient, as I say, naturally very positive, naturally very charismatic. But you shouldn't be doing this on your own. And there is this thing, if you're the emperor, if you're the ruler, there's a bit of loneliness there. So it's how do you make sure that you can connect emotionally to those that are your family or your partners or whatever, so that doesn't detach you from you know, your true power, which is this connection to others. Okay, let's get you some angel or godlike energy for your spiritual stylist team, pile 3. Archangel Raziel, mysteries, secrets, knowledge. Okay, so now one of the things that's interesting about this is that I very deliberately chose at least one of these cards to have a masculine figure, for the divine masculine. And that was just because, you know, like you just want a bit of diversity, and then we got the diversity coming out here. So this doesn't have to be that you are male or identify with masculine. It's not what this is about. But it is interesting. The Archangel Raziel is connected in the Kabbalah to Chokmah, which is undifferentiated wisdom and is the divine masculine. So there is something in this, I think. There's something, if this is the divine feminine energy of connection to others and your emotion, there is also knowledge. You bring a knowledge to this. You know, and a sort of a sense of the mysteries. So there is something about how you impart knowledge and how you keep or impart secrets and all that sort of thing that is going to be part of this in getting this balance right. And I think it might be a very private practice. I feel like Archangel Raziel is here for you to reconnect with whenever you feel you might be heading towards the temptations, to get back to the core. What is the wise approach? It will help you in how you style yourself and present yourself. And Archangel Chamiel, unconditional love, heart healing, self-love. So you are all about the heart, and I think this is about what you want to do. This gives you the wisdom that's almost detached from the emotion, so that you can almost calibrate and make sure you're not falling into the temptation. And then the heart energy will kind of recalibrate you back to others, because it is about other people. You are connected with other people. You are a person of the people, pile 3. So let's get you some astrology, some star or numerology, sort of star quality, star energy for you, pile 3. Last quarter. So the last quarter moon is about breaking down the old and preparing for the new. Well, that's who you are. You're bringing in very new energy. And you do need to break down the old and to liberate the old. So remember, that's what this is about. And then first quarter, having done that, you then move into the new intentions. Yeah, you're a leader, that's for sure. Yeah, this is all about manifesting, having broken down what isn't working, manifesting the new. And that's in collaboration. It's interesting, it fell right in the heart of the collaborative cards for this reading. And 5th house could bring in love, creativity, all of those sort of things. Children, and there is children. Some of this may be all really manifest through family and through a legacy and through a dynasty. But certainly creativity and love and all of those things are connected. Your heart is very connected to this. Okay, so last but not least, we're going to have a little bit of fun with the fashion oracles. So this has people from the fashion industry, which seems fitting for this particular reading. And I don't really know all that much about the fashion industry, I have to say. So I won't necessarily know who these people are. So it isn't necessarily about that. If you know, it may mean something to you. It's more what their advice to you is. And it's meant to be a bit of fun. If it doesn't, you know, like it doesn't have to be profound. You can have a bit of a laugh. Or if it is profound, take what resonates for you. So we have Gianni Versace. Well, even I know who Versace was. And Christian Louboutin. So again, I know both of those. Again, I'm feeling like there's something about the divine masculine with you. It almost feels to me, particularly with Raziel there, that it's kind of the strategy. There's all the sort of like the emotional, colourful, charismatic heart energy. But there's also the strategy. The other thing, though, that I'm getting with Sunflower, I think like, you know, Ra, the sun god, the sun king. So there's something about the balance of the divine masculine and feminine that's important in your personal style and your magic. Anyway, what they are saying, Gianni Versace says, more is more. So I think that's true, but it's like, what do you want more of? Because if it's the temptation towards the power that takes you away from the true heart of what you're doing, you're not going to ultimately enjoy that. If it's more of what you're really trying to bring out, wonderful. He says, add a touch of super to your look. Superman, supermodel, superstar. Yeah, there is something super about you. There is something highly charismatic, and don't hide that. That's really, really powerful. You shine. You really shine, Pole 3. And we've got be a legend, not a myth. Yeah, a legend. And this is like a legacy. There's a legacy. There's something you're going to do that is a legacy, because a myth is sort of something that is kind of more transpersonal. A legacy, a legend, you know, they bring something in that lasts. Christian Louboutin says, statement should stand on a platform. Heel height is up to you. So yeah, you need a platform. You are meant to be a leader. Soul should be passionate. Souls, S-O-L-E-S, should be red. Red, yeah, red. Like this is really at the core of you. You want to do something that's at the core, the foundations, the powers of the world. And wear heels as high as your hopes and dreams. Yeah, don't underestimate yourself. You're a powerhouse. You really are. And that is why you have the risk of going into the temptation. But I don't think you're going to. I think as long as you continue to really keep your intentions around the collaboration and around the connection to others, you're going to be a massive force for good in the world, Pole 3. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope it isn't a bit overwhelming. I really think you can enjoy it. I think you, of all people, can enjoy your style, and more power to you for it. If you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.